Grateful that you've decided to join me today for this. I promise that this session will be, well, hopefully useful, inspirational, and I'm aiming for fun. I'm aiming for us to have fun. And I have some sort of guesses of why you might be here. The title is a little bit provocative, right? Go to market, why you can't afford to be boring. So maybe some of you are here because you're wondering, oh my God, is my marketing a little bit boring? Do I need to have a little checkup and different perspective? I'm sure some people are triggered by the word afford. You put anything related to budget on a slide these days and people respond, right? It's been that way for a few months, years, as those of us who work in marketing know. And I have a suspicion that some of you are like, you're just here to like stir stuff up and like bring drama to the room. And yeah, totally, like look at my outfit. I'm literally here to do that. I wouldn't be dressed that way otherwise. But I promise you, even the skeptics, that if you're thinking that this is dramatic for no reason, you're wrong, because every bit of drama that I'm going to show you is heavily studied and backed by science. I'm a really big fan of science. So let's dive in. Why even listen to me? I've spent about 20 years doing all things marketing, from reading the textbooks with like 4 Ps and Kotler and all of that, down to working in all sorts of big agencies and management consultancies, helping big clients get it done and done well, because you got to be accountable for results, right? It's not all just fun and games. I've worked in London, I worked in Stockholm, where I'm based right now, and here are some logos, because people love impressive logos, right? So I did go to market for Google for 2 products that they were launching. One of them is EdTech SaaS, so if you're in SaaS, maybe you'll relate to that. And I've also launched the first global campaign for Airbnb when they were a little tiny Series C startup. So I've known firsthand from, about a decade ago what it's like to work with tech and get tech to pay attention to creativity in marketing, not just the clicks and engagement rates. I've also been in management consulting. There's an Accenture logo there. I'm going to say, I survived Accenture. If you, too, have been fallen victim of Accenture or Big Four, please, let's connect over that. And TBWA is one of the agencies I work with. They're a very well-known network agency. And if you see next to their logo, it says the Disruption Company. So disruption, innovation, stirring stuff up, backed by science is kind of what I've been doing for the last about 20 years. So I hope that's kind of a bunch of logos persuasive enough for you to listen to me. But we're at a tech conference, and I want to start with an experiment. So here's an experiment. You know these companies, right? Please nod, otherwise I'll screw up on like slide 3, and that's really embarrassing. Yes, you know these companies. They're all CRM providers or adjacent, right? Pipedrive is sort of the most recent unicorn of them all. HubSpot is literally everybody's tech stack. And Salesforce is, well, Salesforce, at some point they were the fastest growing company in the world in like 2009, which I think is pretty crazy. So I have a test for you. We're going to do an experiment. I'm going to give you their mission statements, and you're going to try and see if you can make sense of them and connect them to the right one. One of them is building bridges between companies and customers with, sounds groundbreaking, doesn't it? The other one is helping customers unlock their business potential and scale. It's very telling, it's very unique. I'm being sarcastic, as you can tell, right? And the third one is helping millions of organizations grow better. They're so specific, aren't they? They're so relatable. And so, does anybody want to take a guess of what sits where in this one specific category, which, to be honest, could be applied way beyond CRM if we're being specific about it? Anybody want to take a guess? Ooh, yeah, I would have thought Salesforce, to be honest, but anybody else? Help customers is Salesforce. A big company wants to help people. Yeah, cute. Maybe HubSpot. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? I mean, I don't blame you, because I don't remember So here are the answers. Salesforce wants to build bridges. Or maybe they're going into urban planning as well. I don't know. It's Salesforce. They can do anything. Pipedrive wants to help, because I kind of see that, because smaller, cuter, right? We would just want to help. HubSpot helps millions of organizations. So you nailed it, right? You did millions. Yes, we got 1 out of 3. So CRM and very vague mission statement. And I think what we're witnessing right now is this sort of big disease in marketing, buzzword bingo, right? B2B is very much prone to that. Daria was a previous speaker here, and she also talked about how everybody might say things like, we grow your ROI. I'm also a big fan of we supercharge your business operations, la la la. And obviously that means nothing, and it's not very memorable. So not great. But maybe this was a hard experiment. I'm gonna give you an easier test and see what happens. These are pictures. Pictures from different brands, but they're in the same product category. I'm not even asking you to name the brands, because I don't remember even. But what business are they in? What's the product category here? Does anybody want to? Okay, go. All right, close. What kind of stuff do they do for e-commerce?
ERP systems.
Oh, okay. Noted. Anybody else? I think e-commerce is a really good guess, because there's warehouse stuff and they are packing things. Anybody else? CRM? I wouldn't use 2 CRM examples, right? I'd be a bad speaker. But good guess. So it could be, I think e-commerce is a good guess. ERP, CRM. Could have been something about supply chain logistics, shipping. Could have been bookkeeping, right? You have an e-commerce store, you need to do the numbers. It's payments. It's payments. This is a slide that I once made when I was a European head of marketing at a payments SaaS company, the biggest one in Europe. And this is our category. So standing out was kind of easy, to be honest. But showing it to people and seeing their reaction, especially internally, was very painful. So what you're suffering from here is a different disease of B2B, is people smiling at screens visual identity. If you were to start a business, be it e-commerce or anything else related to tech, chances are you would, first of all, come up with an ad where there are people smiling at screens. Usually it's a white dude. Usually he's like wearing chinos, if you can see it, and he's very sort of well-dressed, fresh haircut, and a bottom down, which tells me that it's not a real person, it's a model, because if you're running an e-commerce store, you don't have a fresh haircut, you're stressed the whole time. So that's something that has been bugging me, right? That it's very stock picture-y, the whole industry of B2B. Why do I care, right? Like, that's a fun experiment. Like, why do you care? Give us some science, Diana. And so if we have the same mission statements that we can't really pull apart, and if we have the same visuals that we can't really pull apart, does marketing even work? And I'm going to speak about mostly B2B right now, but all that I'm saying will apply to B2C as well. So I nerded out, and I found this study by a company called Systems One. They study how people respond to advertising. And so they looked at 1,600 ads in B2B, and they concluded that 75% of them do not drive long-term growth. That's a lot of money. That's a few billions. Annual, maybe monthly, right, across the world. So that really bugged me. And why do they not drive long-term growth? Because they are not standout or creative enough. They're not memorable. Nobody notices them, nobody remembers them, nobody connects with them. And given that we just looked at a bunch of mission statements that were generic and pictures that were completely random and the same, I tend to believe that. So what do we do with that? Well, I want to introduce you to this scientist. Her name is Hedwig von Restorff. And she's a German psychologist, wrote a bunch of academic papers, and then did so well that she named the discovery in her name, which, I respect that. So there's a thing called von Restorff effect, right? And if she were to look at all of these go-to-market examples, she would not at all approve of these efforts. She wrote a bunch of academic papers, but I'm going to summarize it to you in one slide so that you remember. People notice and remember what sticks out. You know, just like those ads didn't, because you couldn't tell me which mission statement is for which company, just like those visuals didn't, right? And that may or may not be the reason why I'm wearing this suit as a tech conference, because I do want to stick out and be remembered, right? So that we can keep in touch and you can tell your friends, oh my God, this is the girl talking, she was really good, follow her on LinkedIn, that sort of stuff. So whilst this might sound that I'm talking about some random German scientist who discovered something superbly psychological, it's very applicable to everyday life. If you think about yourself, we don't really remember what we've had for breakfast every day. If it's like the usual day, like Monday to Friday, just like whatever you pull out of the fridge, you eat it, right? But we do remember if we go on a different adventure in a different country and we need to figure out that we need to turn left from this church and there was this shop and a weird purple color and there was this man in a hat, right? We remember stuff that we're doing for the first time, stuff that stands out. We remember really dramatic newspaper headlines. That's because the brain is wired that way, to pay attention to what sticks out. Now, let's get back to marketing. The sad truth is that you've got a brand, whether you like it or not. So if you're marketing a tech product or any kind of product, having a really boring vanilla brand, it will cost you. If people don't see your message, don't notice it, if people don't remember it, then you're going to have to spend a lot more in paid media. You're going to have a bigger team churning out SEO articles. You're going to have to appear in many, many more channels to land the same message. Standing out is the hack. Standing out means that you're being really savvy with your budget. So now there's the good news. Well, what happens if you do well? If you stand out and you have a brand that's not boring, but actually stands for something and makes people notice and remember you. This is another study. I told you there's going to be a lot of science here, so that's what we have. This study is by the B2B Institute of LinkedIn, who would know B2B marketing better than people who get paid for ads by most B2B marketers on the planet, in collaboration with Bain & Company, you know, those like really expensive management consultants. So they collaborated, and they found out that 81% of B2B buyers end up buying the brand that came to their mind on day one. So they woke up one morning and they're like, I need this sort of solution. And what's happening is they're going, all right, who are the big guys? Like it's Adobe, Oracle, Salesforce, whatever, the providers that are default. That pops to their mind. Those must be playing in this category. All right, who else? Who else could I choose? Because that might be too big. I don't want to buy that. So they look at, I don't know, a post they've seen on social media. They remember what they've seen on social media. Maybe they're subscribed to a newsletter. Maybe their friend told them about something in a Slack group. You know, those kinds of looser connections, but something stood out and something was stuck in their head. And that's the short list. 81% of the time, whoever made on that short list is the one that gets bought. So yes, there is a behavior, oh, I'm going to search for this topic and then stumble upon this 10 ways to la 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 article on SEO, or these days people will ask ChatGPT increasingly. But 81% of the time, it's somebody that they already knew, because they have this implied preference. I saw the ad from this company about like a year ago or 2 years ago, or maybe 6 months ago, which means that they're legit, right? They've lasted 6 months, right? And it means that they knew me and what I needed well enough to appear on my feed, to appear in my community, etc. So there's this implied trust and preference. Which is really important because I think that's the ultimate hack in marketing. And it does unfortunately go against a bunch of thinking related to marketing funnels, how we're going to nudge them and nurture them into conversion. So when I work with founders, I work with a lot of early stage SaaS founders or CMOs at bigger SaaS companies who realize that they need to invest in brand and be creative and stand out. And all the time I get the same questions. One of them is, which channel would give us the best ROI? Everybody wants to know it, right? Like, yay, I wish I could tell you. The other one is, we don't have a huge budget. Where do we put it? Should we panic? How do we get more budget? I mean, that's like story of the last 5 years or so. And then we have a bigger competition. This goes two ways. One of them is, Do we just like try and fight it with some, I don't know, hiring more people, which is obviously unlikely because you're not making the revenue to do more people and get more spend? Or the second way is my least favorite, but actually favorite when people say it, is should we just copy them? And then we'll be big too, right? We just take their messaging because they're succeeded with their totally different product, totally different ICP. So we'll just take their messaging, apply it to ours, and do the same kind of webinar, and it will all be dandy. And so I sit there, just like this dog in this meme, at all of these calls, and I smile, and I listen, and then I have to find a really polite way to say, it doesn't matter, right? None of these questions matter. None of my answers really matter. None of it matters unless you stand out. So if you go with the same creative, you will not get randomly a lot better ROI in one channel than the other. So if you are relating to this, I'm not judging you, because I've seen it so many times, and I'm sure that if I was a founder, which is not a skill set that I have, then I would be struggling with the same thing, because I'd be juggling so many things that I need to do in my business that I just want to fix marketing somehow quickly. I'm not judging you. I'm here to tell you, I got you. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. I'll give you the recipe, then I'll show you some examples of what that can look like. Hopefully you'll be like, that's cool, I want to do that myself. And then I'm going to give you a framework that I use for every single one of my clients, so that you can be like, I'm going to go home, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to tinker with it, and I'm going to arrive to messaging that doesn't suck, that differentiates me, that is punchy, that stands out, and that makes me money. So that's the agenda for today. Sounds all right? Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Well, I'll tell you a story. There's a lot of stories here. I might need to grab some water. It says on the slide, hold your horses, but also hold your features. Whilst I'm drinking this water, does anybody want to guess what I'm talking about? Overshare is a really fun word. I should use it more in my marketing. Yes? Anything else? Sort of feature benefit, ladder up, that sort of thing. Yeah. I'm going to go even further than that, so that you're even less comfortable with what I'm about to say. So let's imagine that we're going to a bar. Each of you is going to a bar. And you see a person, you're like, this is a fun person. This is a stranger I want to hang out with. The vibes are matching. We could totally be best friends. And so you're like, I need to make friends with this person now. How do I even kick off a conversation? And usually, what do you talk about? You talk about how the weather is outside. It's raining. Oh my God, it's scorching hot. I'm sunburned, whatever. You talk about the music, right? That's a great playlist. What's your favorite music? I don't know. You might talk about drinks, ask for a tip for drinks. You talk about these like quite superficial things, right, at the first stage. Because otherwise it would be a bit invasive, you know? If somebody came to you in a bar and was like, hi, I collect rocks, and tonight you have to come to my party, you'd be like, what the hell? You're weirded out. This sounds like a creepy person. You need to run away. And that's probably good advice. Do you see what I mean? Like, there's some sort of social element there, like in terms of normality of how we behave. And so what I see tech brands doing, and that's particularly B2B SaaS brand, is they come at you, they throw all their features at you, and then they say, come to my webinar tomorrow, right? Which kind of, I understand why they're doing it, right? Because you have to get the leads because the sales team is waiting and they're really angry and hard to please. But that's not how humans work, right? So my advice is hold your horses, hold your features. There is time and place. But if you really want to connect to your audience, you do need to start a little bit softer on a slightly more, let's call it superficial level. And I didn't invent this. I'm just explaining it in that way with a real life example. I'm going to tell you who did. Nerds. So more stats. There is a place, not Hogwarts, but close. It's Institute of Practitioners in Advertising. They're based in London, and they're massive nerds. They look at all the ads that exist, and they try to evaluate which campaign was most effective and why. So what happens is every year, like dozens of agencies each has like 5 teams working and submit a case study about their client. Like, this client did this over this many years. We used econometrics to say that it was specifically this message that broke it, and that's why it grew. I've, fortunately, but also painfully, has been a co-author of one of these, the weeks of my life that I will never get back. And my paper did explore whether David Beckham changing his haircuts had any impact on the sales of hair gel for teenage boys. And we had to isolate for that in econometric modeling, which was really painful. But they get these papers, they analyze decades of it, and there's one type of campaign that always performs the best. It's called fame. And it's not like a musical jazz hands thing, right? It's just literally a name of a marketing strategy called fame. And fame campaigns, they drive 4 times the market share growth than any other. And I would like to just underline market share growth, not like clicks, engagements, favorability. Market share growth. They go all the way to sales and market share growth because they isolate for that. It's very serious. And what are fame campaigns? They're not campaigns that say, hey, our product is better than the other product, or our product is cheaper than the other competitor product, or we're exactly for people like you. Fame campaigns are the ones that latch on culture, right? So they piggyback on culture to become relevant. It's exactly these things about you walk into a bar and you talk about the weird playlist, the drinks, the weather, the weird lamp, the fun interior, whatever it may be. You latch onto each other with like very kind of brief, mild messaging, which then opens the door for further communication. So this sort of stuff works 4 times better for market share growth. And this is not a stat that's very well known in tech. I guess I was lucky because I've been exposed to it early on in my marketing career. And what I'm trying to do is bring this into the masses because it's proven to work, right? So if you saw on the first slide, my company is called Fame Overflow because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make brands famous in tech because that's where the money is. So I'm going to show you some examples. These are ads. They exist. They're real. They ran for some of my clients. I wrote them. This is an ad for an HR SaaS company. So they do things like pulse surveys. Are your employees happy? Do they want to leave? Do they hate each other? Is your manager terrible? You know, that sort of stuff. Are they collaborating? Do sales and marketing love each other? Those pulse surveys type. And I met the CMO a few years ago, and she was telling me, to be honest, like between you and me, I'm not even sure the world needs another HR tech company. I was like, wow, you got a great job here. Like, what are we gonna do with that? And then I realized that's a great opportunity because I needed to flip it somehow. I needed to say, no, like that's exactly why the world needs you. And what I started looking at is, what is the reality of corporate culture these days, right? Because if there's so many HR companies that are improving all the HR all over the world, then we'd be happy, clappy people who love our jobs and never want to leave and don't even need a pay rise to stay happy, right? But in reality, you have layoffs. Oh, you're a family. And then next month, you're laid off. You have forceful return to office where people are being treated like toddlers. You have a whole bunch of things since COVID that make absolutely no sense in corporate environment. So corporate culture is kind of broken. And then I said, what if you're the one who say that you're here to fix it with your very different approach? What if we push on that pain of corporate culture being broken, because that's the reality of culture, and write some ads that provoke HR people to identify that what they're doing right now is not good. And that's how the first ad was born. It says, I don't know if you can see from far away, pizza parties make me feel valued. Said no one ever. If you scroll that as an HR director, you might take it personally, or you might hide and run away, but it sure as hell tells you that something is potentially wrong. And everybody does seem to respond to pizza parties, strangely. And the second one says, I always give 100% at work, 70 of it to my side hustle. And that's, again, the reality, the popular culture where, yeah, you have a job, and then you have the other job, and then you don't tell your boss about that job. So I looked at a bunch of trends on social media that talk about, corporate culture reality, the trends of quiet quitting. I found a really cool one called coffee badging, which is a hashtag, apparently, where People are forced to return to office. So they come in and they scan their badge, and so they get a coffee and then they go home to work because they don't want to be in the office, which I think is a rather cute explanation of the human condition. Why I'm listing all of these to you, because it wasn't just these banners that I made. We then made a thought leadership piece for HR directors, cheat sheets of 10 social professional trends that you don't know about but really should. And all I did was sit down and go through TikTok and find those trends and explain them and use the psychologists that were sat inside the client's company to say what to do with that, right? So suddenly you didn't have to spend 100,000 on a big piece of original research. The research is under everybody's nose. You just need to open the internet and write about culture. Culture. A bunch of other ads. This is for a client that's in Sweden. They're growing globally. They are a go-to-market SaaS solution, basically very complex tech, but they help your free trial users upgrade, right? They push the right messages at the right time, la-di-da-di-da. And these are some ads that were written for them and perform well. Again, we're latching onto culture. We're saying, why are you ghosting your trial users? You never follow up to convert them. So the first ad says, I never thought I'd get ghosted by a SaaS tool, and that's 93% of your product users. And the second ad is a bit more quirky because we are marketing to sales and marketing people, and as a marketing person, I'm like really hard to market to, right? We're super judgmental. We are not open to that. You better do better. So this is a bit cheeky, a little bit playful. It's a quiz. Your most promising customers are A, your CRO's brother-in-law, very credible. B, that guy Dave from that event, which is how we unfortunately talk about people we meet at events. Or C, your most active trial users. And it kind of makes sense which one of them is the right one. And this is what the software does. Their software helps you figure out how to help your current users buy. I have another example for you. It's a cute baby. I'm like going hardcore here to persuade you. It says, do you think she'll like this baby gift? And if you have to ask, it probably isn't it. And this is for a company that has a solution that helps HR departments reward their employees when they had a baby. I'm not sure reward is the right phrase. Appreciate. Ah, you had a baby. Fantastic. Here's a little gift. And the tension in culture is babies are personal. Child rearing is very personal and intimate. What the hell do we send them, right? So this company prides itself on being the expert in exactly what parents need without it being weird. So I don't know if you felt any emotions where I showed you this ad. I know it's bright lights, so I can't really read you that well, but maybe you did, and that was by design. Another stat, woohoo! In B2B, emotional messages are 7 times more effective than rational ones. Again, it's a stat by the B2B Institute of LinkedIn. They know what's up. It's kind of a bit uncomfortable, right? We think B2B are all rational. We're people in suits making big decisions for a lot of money. It's weird, right? But if you think about it, work life is kind of weird, right? What are you going to do if you screw up? You're going to get fired. All right, that's a fear. Fear is a really big and powerful emotion. What do you actually want to do? And, oh, I want sales to not hate me. Marketer's dream, right? What else? Well, I want to get promotion that I've been promised to for 2 years, but I don't have the KPIs, right? So all of it is about ambition, dream, ego, self-actualization. A lot of the working world is actually filled with emotions. And so to me, it's actually no surprise that in B2B, emotion performs so well. If you're like Diana, it must be even higher for B2C, no? Because, you know, mom's buying things for their kids, that's really emotional. Nah, it's only 2 times more. I'm really surprised myself as well. I think it's just because we're so overwhelmed with B2C messaging. It's everywhere and stalking us that we're sort of tuning out and become really skeptical and, you know, ooh, capitalism, right? But not in B2B, not quite yet. Where do we go from here? Emotion. Emotion matters, emotion sells, emotion converts. I'm going to give you some examples. This is a client of mine. They're called Divly. They do, very niche category, crypto taxes, B2C. And I know crypto taxes are suddenly big in Poland because Poland performed really well on their SEO in the last month. This is their competitive set. As you see, it's a sea of blue and they tell you that they're going to do it in under 20 minutes, all of them. And when we put it side by side, we're like, shit, what are we going to say, 19 minutes? Do you know what I mean? Like, where do you go from there? So we needed to think a little bit harder. And we started wondering, does anybody actually time it as 20 minutes? Does anybody care that it's 20 minutes? Maybe what they really want is for it to not be a horrific experience. And sometimes it does take longer than 20 minutes for it to be clear and accurate so that IRS doesn't get them ideally, or another local tax authority. Very high stakes event there. And so we came up with a line, crypto taxes without the headache, because that's what people actually care about. And how do I know that it's a line that performs well and works? Because now they get reviews where people write, indeed, Divly did well. It was about crypto taxes without the headache. Yay, right? And here's my tip for you. If you want to test your positioning, it probably is performing really well if the customers are dictating it back to you in their emails, in their reviews, or whatever it may be. So emotions, not just at ad level, but also at website level, because this is buzzwords. This knows exactly what I'm struggling with and is trying to give me a better experience. And if you're like, but my website is amazing, or you're like, maybe my website isn't, but I don't know how bad it is, but so somebody should give me objective feedback. I personally found that giving people unprompted feedback on their website isn't a good idea. But here's a semi-scientific, semi-objective tool that I recommend. I'm not endorsed. Once you open their page, you'll see why. It's called blahblahmeter.com. You go there, you copy some of your copy from your website, and it will tell you how much of it is blah. So sort of buzzword analysis. And this is me copying someone's website, and I got a bullshit index of 1.37. Their index is 0 to 1, so that didn't work out too well. Interesting fact, I met with the CMO of this company who didn't see value in doing any messaging work. So this is a really subtle, secretive way that you can check yourself without feeling embarrassed or having to put all your work out there for judgment. I recommend it. More ads. I'm going to show you more ads. Emotion. When people talk about emotional advertising in B2B, they're like, I don't want to sound like a clown. And like, I get it. You're a serious company. You're marketing to C-level execs. Why the hell would you want to sound like a clown? Nobody will take you seriously. So sometimes humor is not the only emotion, right? Sometimes empathy is the emotion. And this is an ad that performed weirdly well for a company called Tag Insight. SaaS, they help you with Google Tag Manager. Now, people will be like, what is Google Tag Manager, Diana? You're just talking gibberish. And first of all, if you're thinking that, like, you're so lucky that you don't know. Secondly, it's the thing that marketers have to deal with, and it once made me cry. And thirdly, it's so complicated that last week I asked a developer at my client's site to help me install it, and he came out after 3 hours saying it destroyed me. Google Tag Manager fucking sucks. Sorry. Nobody likes it. Everybody hates it. It's really painful. There's a reason this company exists, because it automates everything related to Google Tag Manager. And it's targeting agency owners who are like, oh my God, I'm going to write cute ads, and they're going to perform super well for my clients. And the clients are going to be like, return on ad spend is incredible. We're going to extend this contract. And in reality, all these people are sat there tinkering with a broken Google Tag Manager. So that's why this ad is here. Bet your agency dream wasn't a Google Tag Manager routine. Extra points to myself for rhyming. I do enjoy alliteration and rhyming. Why? Because our brain remembers it. We think it's cute, funny, endearing, human, right? So that's why I try to use that. That performed well, and obviously I would know because I sit and check the dashboards all the time. Another one. You're like, what the hell? It does say, I love it when you call me by my ticket number, yes. And now I will explain why. Another client of mine, where CX analytics platform, right? Customer experience analytics, very useful. Everybody should want it. Sort of makes sense, but nobody wants to allocate budget for it because it's very hard to clue it back to the ROI, right? It's some imaginary maths that needs to be done and nobody believes it. So when I was working with the CEO, I was like, well, yeah, you sort of do need to link one to the other, but also if you have no way to do it, we need a different way. We need a different provocative way in. So the campaign was born, and it was called, You think you're customer-centric, but would your customer say you're customer-centric? Hence, one of the ads is, I love it when you call me by my ticket number, which is what a customer might never say, but is exactly how a customer gets treated in not a very customer-centric way, if you know what I mean. This kind of stuff that doesn't belong on LinkedIn, but when you put it there, it sticks out, it sparks curiosity, it makes people go, who the hell put this ad in here? It makes them look at your LinkedIn page, makes them click and explore your website, upon which you will find a lot of information by product marketers that tells you exactly what this platform is, what it's good for, who it is for, what are the features, what are the benefits, and why you should go for them. Because in most tech companies, product marketers work hard, right? There's a lot of messaging that is product specific, but there's very little of the top one that actually makes somebody pay attention to them. So I usually employ these as sort of umbrella level that sits at the top, that allows the rest of the work to get seen. Do you know this guy? Who is that? You know. He's from Silicon Valley. Does anybody know his name? It's Jared. It's Jared Dunn from Silicon Valley. I love Jared. Jared's cute, right? Jared is a little bit weird. He's really smart. He knows what's up. The sucky thing is nobody's ever listening to Jared, right? You kind of just, I don't want to hang out with him. I want to give him a hug and support him, right? And that's the problem. A lot of brands, tech brands, and especially B2B brands, they do sound like Jared Dunn from Silicon Valley. They're sort of doing all the right things, but nobody's listening, nobody's paying attention. And emotion is how you cut through that. It could be funny, yes, haha, funny, but I personally prefer empathy. I prefer sassiness or sarcasm. Fun fact, when I write campaigns for a client, I usually do 3/4 territories. 80% of the time, the client buys a sarcastic one, because in B2B, we really want to be like clever funny, right? We don't want to be clowns. We want to be like, I'm a little bit better than you, and I'm going to be funny about it, right? Like little comedians. So that's what people end up buying. That's what they're comfortable with. That's the emotion that they want to provoke. Still sounds smart. And now we're on to the very important part with what the hell do you say, right? I've been talking through, I don't know, 20 slides now, telling you stories about how everybody's invisible and we're saying the right thing and it's very bad. So we need to find the right thing to say and we need to stand out and you have to dare to be different. And there's science and my German friend there, you know, who's all about standing out and stats. Great, like now what? What do we do? Don't worry, I got you here. This is the juicy part. I'll talk you through a very specific process, 3 steps to figure out what the hell you need to say to stand out. But first, again, just a reminder of why it matters. Let's assume you are a small company and you're taking on big market players. You don't have budget. Of course you don't have budget. How are you going to compete with a bigger enterprise client? Very hard, right? They will outright you on SEO. They'll just put more people to churn out content. They have more money for ads. So if there are any leads in market, they'll be like, I got them, not you. What else are they going to do? They're going to go to the events with the biggest booth, so you're not going to stand out there, are you? Basically, anything that is about function and money, they will beat you before you've even started. And even if you are a scale-up, right? You have solid revenue, you're a global company, you're a well-known brand, you're still competing against, chances are like Oracles, Adobes, and Salesforces of the world, right? Because they are the default solution, right? They are what's in the brain within that shortlist always, and you want to be in that shortlist. So this is a recipe for both of those scenarios. Whereas you're small, completely small, or a scale up, you still need to fight. And what it's called is being a challenger brand. Now, I would have liked to say that I made it up, but I didn't make it up. This is a book, it's quite old actually. It's 20, 30 years old. It's called Eating the Big Fish, which I like as a title because it's so damn weird that it is a business book, it makes you pay attention. How challenger brands can compete against brand leaders. This is not new thinking, this is hardcore theory, right? And what I like about it is that as a smaller company without budget, it means you're not alone. And honestly, you're not that special because there's been a recipe of solving it for the last 20 years. So I'm gonna tell you how to do it based on this mindset shift in my own way. The book is good on a philosophical level, I find. So if you wanna read it, feel free. You could also just put a ChatGPT, give me a summary, right? But what I'm giving you are frameworks that are not in the book, but given that I've worked at a bunch of agencies that all use challenger brand methodology, I've defined my simplest one.